challenges we'll navigate, helping them become the best and elevate. Oh yeah, rising above, reaching for the sky, unlocking potential we won't deny. In the sweet spot, we'll pave the way, transform the leaders day by day.
Welcome, my friend, to the Sweet Spot, where IT leaders share the insight with other leaders and others that want to lead. My name is Carlos Vargas, and as in every week, I have my two co-hosts, Holton and Paul Lewis.
Hello, hello.
How are we doing, guys?
So how is it that Carlos and Howard seem to be traveling, but Paul is home?
I was traveling. I got home about an hour and a half ago.
Nice. Nice. Well, as you can tell, I'm still traveling. I was actually supposed to be on a plane at this particular moment.
Yes.
But I had a customer whiskey tasting that I needed to host, and so I rescheduled my flight for tomorrow.
Needed? Or
Well, I was the host, and they had like 50 people scheduled to be there, so I kind of needed to be there.
Wait, did you say whiskey or AI ski?
No. Very, very, very distinctly whiskey.
Oh, fancy.
Yes. So
I need to connect you with one of my friends that he actually loves all that.
Oh, you should. You should. Because I have 600 bottles at home. Yes. So
Yes.
I'm now 4 years into running my own whiskey club. And my whiskey club has done 370 bottles of whiskey.
Right.
In that amount of time. So,
When did the retail hours open in the house? What's the
I often say that I show a picture of my home bar and I say that's my favorite bar in Denver. It takes a lot to go someplace. It actually takes a lot for me to go someplace and even try whiskey, right? Because I tend to know all of the whiskeys by, I know what they all kind of taste like and where they fit in the market and all that stuff. And it tends to be rare that someone has something that I want to try, which makes it all that more special when they do. Shout out to the Franklin Room in Chicago.
Can you do a gig-om radar? That's the question. Is that
I could. I absolutely do a gig-om radar on like whiskey countries. I could do one based on distilleries. I could do one based on locations. I could do one based on bottles.
It feels like a good use of time. And you are the COO, so it's probably your decision. I don't know. It's a lot of things adding up there.
So I'm at a conference, like we were just saying. I'm at Snowflake.
Yep.
And thus far, there's a booth at Snowflake. It is not a Snowflake booth that has my all-time favorite giveaway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it is
a T-shirt with your face on it.
No, it is my own custom Pokemon card.
Cool.
Ooh, that's cool.
So they create this AI tool where they grab your profile photo and a couple things from LinkedIn, and then throw it in AI and generate your own Pokemon card.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm super excited about. I'm so excited. I asked them if they'd give me the code so I could use it for a different purpose.
And their immediate response was
yes.
Excellent.
I thought that it was a Dungeons and Dragons. I didn't think that it was Pokemon. I thought that was like a Dungeons and Dragons card or something like that.
Well, so Comic-Con in Denver is coming up 4th of July weekend, which I will be there. We have a booth, but I don't have anything to sell. So if I can put it together, I'll actually set this up at the booth.
Interesting.
And produce custom Pokemon cards for people that come by to chat with us about D&D.
Do you require some sort of unique printer?
It wasn't really a unique printer. It's the Cricut seems to be the hard thing to get.
Got it. Okay.
Like the difficult thing because it just takes time. You know what I mean?
Right.
I want to produce them in a quantity of 6 or 4 or whatever fits on a page. Like you kind of want it to be efficient to go through the process.
So of course the big question then is, did that cool technology and interaction you had make you want to buy that product?
So I'm an analyst, right? So I don't look at it through that lens anymore. However, it is the only thing that got me to stop. Once I stopped, it got me to engage. they owned my attention for a minimum of how long it takes to produce this, which is probably 7 or 8 minutes. And I got a demo that actually has me asking more questions and appreciating what they do. So it is the best giveaway from all of those perspectives, right? It's smart. It's fun for me. Like, I get to walk away with this thing. It created a connection, and it gave them my attention for that amount of time.
Interesting.
And I'm a hard customer, as well. You've been to conferences. I am brutal to vendors.
Brutal.
So,
You're the
what is the
customer
topic?
vendors don't like.
Yeah, I am exactly the kind of customer no one with a booth likes. Can I scale you? No, you may not. Oh, wow, that's a weird reaction. I can't tell what you do from your booth. So no, you're not even worth my time to delete your email later. Those exact words. I am a hard customer.
Nice. Which leads me to today's topic. I think we need to do a wrap up and retro on the last 6 months of AI, but I have something very specific to talk about. We have, but all three of us have been to several conferences from January till June 6th. Some of which are, we'll call them SaaS organizations. Some of them are cloud or hyperscaler organizations. 100% of those conference keynotes were AI rich with AI content. The amount of AI features and our AI tool sets and our AI marketing content within the trade show floor has increased by, 8,000%. All of those interesting factors. But I think I'd love to have your opinions on the narrowing I have put in place. So when I have a conversation with like-minded buyers, by that I mean CIOs, CTOs, even CMOs and CFOs, I'm really on the buyer side. I think about and talk about, and they hear about AI enablement as sort of 3 different things, right? Bucket number 1 being education, right? So what do I have to know in myself, in my IT team, and in the rest of the organization to make good here? That's bucket number 1. Bucket number 2 is, what can I or should I build within my organization? So what tooling do I need? What demos do I need to have? What features should I build in my core systems? What utility should I build? That kind of stuff, right? And then the embed side. So I buy and use a lot of SaaS. That SaaS has a additional subscription or just out of the box set of new AI functions to which I can subscribe to and implement. Wrap all those 3 in sort of umbrella strategy and investment and foundation, governance, policy, architecture, decision making. So you're envisioning this description, right? I have a premise that at some point you're going to have to make a decision, organization, between, is my investment strategy more build or more embed or somewhere in between? Because I think each have distinctive traits, right? So I have to think about build, in other words, things I would build either my core systems or utilities or chatbots, right? Or use embedded functions and things like the SaaS or any of the other technologies to which I buy. I think these are distinctive traits and considerations. I think training is different depending on what I decide. I think security, privacy, compliance, risk, that sort of category is different. Either I've got to build it or it's embedded in those SaaS functions. Strategy investment's different. If I'm building, then I'm spending money on new skill sets, increased consumption of my cloud, all those things. Strategy on the other side is it's going to cost me a little bit more feature price, right? Time to market. One could argue it takes longer to build something than to just enable a function, but you're likely to get more ROI from something you build than a small feature that you enable. And then a whole bunch of other smaller things to think about. Things like, what's the vendor investing in? What's the replacement risk if I build it and the vendor builds it after me? Project management is different in both of those worlds. Change management is different in both of those worlds. I can only capitalize build. I can't capitalize embed. I'll stop at some point. You can talk. The perceptual value or the perceptual risk of these things. So I think in many ways, the categories of educate, build, embed, I've got to think about strategically where I want to place my bets.
Sure.
And then of the two, the big embed, I think there's very distinct difference in considerations that make a pretty big difference to my company, my organization. I will pause.
Okay. So I actually think the answer is both.
Okay.
I think it's a matter of time, position, and maturity.
Okay.
I think today, right now, you're insane to build, and you need to be embedding.
Okay. Agreed entirely.
And the reason for that is simple. It's really expensive and really complicated to build today. And unless AI is your job, and I don't mean your job as an individual, I mean your job as an organization, probably not the right use of your time and money. The space is evolving and changing like mad, and the unit economics are shifting, and they're likely to continue to shift for the next 18 months to 2 years.
Right.
Additionally, unless AI is your company's mission, you haven't got a clue what the hell you're actually doing as an organization-wide. You as an individual, fine, you can argue either way, but as an organization, you don't. So embedding is going to allow you to also embed what AI means to you, give you the ability to experiment, and provide some safety net, because it's at the very least going to be pointed and purposeful. However, looking to the future, I can't have 50 different AIs running in my organization. And every embedding is a new AI.
Right.
And everybody's tool now has AI embedded in it. And what nobody has done is said, hey, we will enable the AI, but we'll enable whatever AI you want to use. This is how you change out the AI for the one you want to use. That isn't like a back-end platform to begin with.
Right.
Right. Most of the back-end platforms are going, yeah, sure, we have an AI, but you can also swap it out. Great, cool. But the 49 other tools that you're looking at to accomplish the job, right? Those all provide you an AI in their interface, and that's a fixed AI, and go to hell. That's all there is to it, right? And outside of an AI that's trained on that tool's documentation that allows you to query how to use the tool, I don't want to use that AI. I want to use my AI for all of my data that understands the context of my business. I don't want 50 AIs that have the availability to even see my business, even the small piece of it. I don't want to be put in the position where I have to trust all those AIs. And so I think in the short term, people are doing what they need to do, and we all need to kind of get up to speed on what AI can do and what Gen AI means for us and what works for us and what doesn't work for us, and kind of embedding it in our corporate culture. But long term, I need one AI that's my AI that is trained, even if training is just fine tuning, on my company, my company's data, my company's nuances, my company's way of working, blah, 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 and not 50 of those. So that's...
Yeah, I almost see a direct parallel to what we did with data, right? So what we did with data is we needed MIS. So the very first thing we did, reporting. And reporting was easiest to be created within the tools to which I was doing my business, right? So I'm going to build
days, right? Before it was big data,
right?
It was small data,
exactly, right? So I'm going to, in my core banking, I'm going to build reports. In my CRM, I'm going to build reports. In my MES, I'm going to build reports, right? In my ERP, I'm going to build reports. That was number one, right? That was the easiest thing to do. So I was using the embedded functions, and then I realized, wouldn't it be interesting or valuable and informative if I could take data for more than one system and combine them together? And we thought ourselves, let's do that, and let's build something called a data warehouse to extract this data out, put it in that warehouse, so I can build other MIS that's cross-fashioned. I then said to myself, well, I probably need something like a data platform so I can do more than just MIS. I can do ETLs. I can embed other functions. I can go to third party and get other data. I could augment this set of functions with other functions, and then we start to add AI and ML and all those other things in there. I kind of see it as the same way. In order to implement AI quickest, out of the box. Let me use the AI that's going to come with the SaaS tools that I have. And it could be as the CRM, i.e. Salesforce, Einstein, or your ITSM tool, your Atlassian, your ServiceNow, which has automatic functions to deal with the tickets, right?
Right.
Those are cool, good things. And you're going to get a little bit of ROI function by function, but you're not going to get the most ROI until you start to build things that you need, both functions and data and process across those.
For sure.
systems. Yeah.
So the bill.
I do think it's very similar, right? But I think to your point, we're kind of even before the MIS phase.
Right. 100% true.
MIS was very much custom reports for my organization, right?
Right.
We're still in the like canned out of the box. Here's the 4 reports that are available. We hope you like them. If you don't, suck eggs.
Right.
Like we're still at that phase with Gen AI,
and you can tell because with the build tools, they'll say, here are the 6 integrations out of the box, not the 1,000, the 6. It's like, okay, well, that limits my use cases, obviously.
Sure. There's also things we can do with Gen AI like now that I don't think we need long term. Right? Like one of the things I love using AI for, and it does not scale financially. So that's like, but again, the unit economics are significantly changing for that. So let's just move past that. And that is to use natural language to define data transformation. Like I use that a lot. My favorite Gen AI tool is not actually the chat. It's the unstructured to structured data transformation. That's my favorite.
Interesting.
The ability to take in a bunch of data, and some of that is Gen AI created, and turn that whole glob of crap that's unstructured into a series of structured responses that I can feed into a table.
Yeah. Take all this content, summarize it in 5 bullets, and we'll put that into a table.
Correct. And for those people that are currently listening and going, yes, but I'm a regex expert and I could have done that. You're not that expert. It's just simply impossible to say, hey, I want the stuff that is 3 words here and then 3 words here separated by a random string of characters of length and content. Right? These are things that cannot be done with regex that really, like in the past, you would have used a human to find it and do data entry. And so I think like there's some really good use cases for understanding like how can we do some data quality with AI that helps us overcome some of the humps we've had in the past to then go back to business and go, hey, this is what this looks like with data quality. We fixed it moving forward, or we fixed the past data. Now I need you to fix it moving forward because it's really expensive to do it this way. It's cheaper, likely, than the human in the loop would be, but you don't want to keep that around forever. You just want to change your processes so that the data moving forward has the minimum level of quality.
Right.
Right.
Do you think from an analyst perspective that AI/Gen AI has slipped into the trough of disillusionment, or we're still at the peak?
No,
not all the way to the bottom, but is it on its way down?
Well, I think there's a difference, right? I think you have marketers that are marketing I think marketers create the trough of disillusionment.
Right.
Right. And so effectively, marketers become a bulldozer that push everybody off the cliff. And so I think people are being pushed off the cliff. Like, look, if you say Gen AI one more time, I'm walking out of the conference.
Right. It's almost offensive now, right?
It's like digital transformation. It's like zero trust, right? I think people are just getting exhausted from hearing the term from people that don't know what it means and how to use it and what to do with it.
Right.
And I'm still seeing just a number of just terrible use cases of Gen AI. Like, why would I want your Gen AI to do that?
Right.
And then I'm also seeing people where I'm like, why doesn't it do this? Right.
And I'm seeing fantastic ones. Like I was at SAP Sapphire today, and they were going through, like, as you know, SAP's portfolio is everything from Concur to SuccessFactors to ERP. Right? It's all over it. It's broad, right? So they were showing they don't have a development set of tools. They have an embedded set of AI functions, right? So they will showcase using natural language to get to the right page instead of, and as you remember, you have to know the 6-digit code to get to the right page in SAP. It's like, well, that's helpful just for anybody, right? Or in Concur, I can just say a sentence, hey, I'm traveling to Detroit in 2 weeks and I stay at Marriott hotels, click, and it prepares you full itineraries with the travel you would normally go on, the flights you're loyal to, all that is sort of out of the box. I'm thinking those feel like good functions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing some things that are smart. The challenge is I'm seeing really smart things that don't have the right error checking in the loop, that also don't always have the right output.
Right.
And then I'm seeing some ridiculously silly things. So I'm working on a project. So if you record in Zoom or really anything else, the text transcript you get is a VTT file, which is not really human readable. Like technically you can read it,
Right.
but they've interjected all the timestamp data. They've got real weird line breaks. Okay, cool. So I can throw that in ChatGPT and say, turn this into a transcript. Don't change the text, just reformat it and remove the timestamp data.
Right.
And it does a really good job of that. Great. So now I have a clean transcript I can use.
Right.
Gemini is supposed to have a larger context window.
It does. Yeah.
So in order to automate that, I can't use ChatGPT because the context window is too small.
Right.
Conversations spill over, and I'm kind of hosed, and there's a whole story behind it, but it doesn't matter. I'm getting to a different point. So I throw it to Gemini, and you know what Gemini does? No matter how tight the prompt is, it generates a summary.
It only generates a summary.
That is correct. That is correct. And I've tried like 15 different prompts. And it cuts the text at weird places and it's inconsistent. And every single response, even the same prompt, gives me a wildly different result, all of which is some form of summary.
Right.
Right. And it's like, I don't understand how totally, completely, and utterly useless you are to me. This makes no sense to me whatsoever.
And that's the last time you'll use it because of that experience.
Well, it's the last time I'm done for a month, right? Like there's a moratorium of a month.
Everybody's a buzz.
But not to mention, if I want to use the API for Perplexity, Claude, or ChatGPT, I go to their API page, I click Generate an API. I don't have to go to AI Studio and stumble my way through illogical crap to find out how to utilize the API. Right. Google, get your crap together, you're a technology company. Why is this so hard?
That's why the build is the complex side of that equation.
Right.
It requires skill sets that the IT shop has never had, and you're asking them to build something they've never done before.
Let's also be clear, the competition doesn't have it.
Right.
The competition doesn't have that barrier to entry.
Right.
We don't exist in a world where you get to ignore what your competition enables with a low barrier to entry.
Right.
Right. That's the other thing that's really, really important. If you want to compete in this space, and everybody wants to compete in this space, and you're spending billions and billions and billions of dollars to compete, fundamentally, you have to provide an avenue to compete at the same level.
Right.
You can also say we provide all the build tools. You can also do that, but you can't only do that.
Right. So is it a different market focus that, let's say, the big companies, they focus on the enterprise, so they have these complex systems versus these other ones that are focused more on the smaller businesses that don't have, like you mentioned, the skill set.
Gives me the same thing. Right? Copilot still gives me the same experience that I would expect of ChatGPT and Perplexity and Claude. So Microsoft is still giving to me exactly what I'm looking for. The difference between
Microsoft didn't build it.
No, but it doesn't matter. Microsoft also says you also have the build tools. Right. Microsoft is doing exactly what I'm asking. Right. Microsoft says here's the light entry if you just want to run with it, and here's if you want to build completely in Microsoft. Like we'll give you the full spectrum. It's also easier to use the full spectrum than I find Google is. Right. It helps that Microsoft's been building Visual Studio Code for a long time, and that's kind of become a de facto standard IDE. Right. And so that integration makes sense. Whereas Google's AI Studio seems like something that was created by college kids in a weekend and supported accordingly.
Will it exist just to build that set of applications or agents, right? Versus
Sure.
all applications and all agents, where an IDE, a generic IDE, would be best fit.
No, 100%. But also, you're just making my point for me.
Yes, no, I appreciate I was making your point. I was just creating this.
Right?
And I think there's a tool set in the middle too. I think there's the hyperscalers that are focused on either the model and or the build. And then there's the SaaS applications that are focused clearly on the embedded functions.
Sure.
But then there's the things in the middle that are like the Snowflakes, the Databricks, the developer function in a deployed SaaS sort of subscription model.
Yeah, and I like what's like.
So
I like
you just came from Snowflake. That was going to be my question. Is Snowflake more build, more embed, wonderful combination of both?
No, actually, it's a wonderful combination of both.
Interesting.
Right. They've even integrated notebooks into Snowflake.
Interesting.
Which I have a love-hate relationship with. Not notebooks as a concept, but the fact that everybody now has their own notebooks that works within their environment. Like, great. So you've said we're all going to speak English, but we're all going to speak different dialects of English. Doesn't make me happy.
Right.
Right. Because we kind of, sort of, partially, a little understand each other. Like, that's not actually helpful in the way I want it to be helpful. Like, I'd much rather you just adopted Jupyter notebooks or even went with, Google's notebooks. Like, I don't, why does it have to be yours? Doesn't matter. But they give you like that. They give you a low code version. They give you a Gen AI driven version. Like, they give you kind of, we can match your maturity versions of how you can use and manage those tools, which I think they did we're at the demo phase, right? This stuff was just announced. So we're still pretty early, but I like what I'm seeing in kind of that method, right? Don't force your customer to work the way you want them to work.
Right.
Work with your customer how they're working, right? Ways of working, kind of match the ways of
and
working.
diversity of audience. So when you look at the Snowflakes, the Databricks, even to some extent the services within the hyperscalers, they have a business user who only knows SQL and who builds Viz, and a data engineer who knows how to build pipelines and transformations and integrations.
Right.
And then a data scientist. That might be the third persona, right? Who's exists for the purpose of creating algorithms and sciencing the data. And therefore they need 3 interfaces, 3 tool sets, 3 AI embeddings, 3 AI build sort of functions.
For sure.
And
I don't think it's one size fits all thing if you're a platform company. I just don't think there is one. I think you have to have, you have to be willing to come to your customer the way your customer wants to work. And your customer's not likely to have one way of working either.
Right.
Right. And there's going to be no, I'm not going to be able to support 50 different Gen AI tools. I'm not going to be able to. It's affordable. I'm going to have to settle on something. And I promise it won't be the one that pigeonholes me the most. It'll be the one that gives me the most freedom for my people to work the way they're working, so they don't have to retrain them.
But every hyperscaler, every platform provider will only have $100, right? Do you say to them, spend 20 on each of your 5 personas, or do you say to them, spend 100 on your most important persona?
No, I say spend $20 on each of your 5 personas, and the reality is it's not an even spend. I would say is spend $50 on your most important persona, spend $10 on your second most important persona, and spend $5 on each of the following. Because you're also going to get the kind of economies of the lessons learned as you go along that journey.
Right.
Right. And you can probably nail the first one for $50 with maybe a $5 incremental spend, the second one for $10 with another $10 down the road, and the rest for $5 with another $10 down the road. And it'd give you time to do that investment. Right. But ultimately, we're talking monies in scale so large, it's a kind of a silly question if you think about it.
I see.
You know what I mean? Like you're going to invest billions of dollars in the tool. You can invest billions in just training the AI model that's your model. Right. You can invest billions of dollars in what the tooling looks like and the interface looks like, which would accomplish all of that. They're not restricted by dollars to do this. They may be restricted by willingness to do it, but it's a dumb spot to call your willingness when you're investing billions of dollars into a model that at that point kind of has to succeed. Invest another $1 billion. What are you doing?
Okay, last 5 minutes, wrap up this kind of January to June journey. It is very clear to me when I have conversations with individual CIOs, CTOs, and technology executives holistically, that they still fall into three buckets. Bucket number one, I'm distracted doing other things. I don't care about AI. And it's not that they don't care, but they're currently moving from this data center tool to a SaaS implementation, and it has a huge expense and risk to the company. So that's their first priority.
Sure, my attention is elsewhere. Yeah.
Exactly. That's category one. That smaller list of category, but it's still there. Category number two is I bake cookies, right? My business is non-technical. I don't have a relatively small team who does not have the skill sets of AI come and educate me. So I do spend a lot of time saying, here's what it is, here's what it isn't, here's the risk, here's the goodness of it. And then the final category is, you know what? IT is a fundamental part of my business, even if it's not my actual business. I have some skill set. I've had started to build, but I'm not getting the ROI I kind of expected or was told I was going to get when I did it. That's kind of the three categories, and I see it because they all started with the whiteboard of the 400 possible use cases of Gen AI or AI.
Yeah, and then they needed to do. They decided to do a big bang. Like
Right.
they made all the same mistakes they made with data science.
Correct.
All the same mistakes they made with cloud.
Yes.
And they somehow expected it to be different. They learned nothing from past mistakes and somehow expected the result to be different.
That is correct.
Yep.
Have you seen a better process? I guess that's my last question. Have you seen a better process? What's better than what they've done, all of those other technologies?
I mean, start small, start to create a hero, start with something that's budgetable, which, by the way, is almost impossible in AI, which means it must be small.
Right.
Start with something where you can measure the value of the outcome.
Right.
Note, I didn't use the word ROI. That's a stupid word to use in this case.
Yeah.
Right? And pick something that you can learn from and talk about. Like it doesn't have to be rocket science. And I don't care. Change AI out with any other leading technology. My answer will be the same.
Right. Blockchain. Yeah.
Right. 100%.
I have to slip that in every way.
Right. I know you love to kind of mess with me with that one because I really. but even blockchain, right? If you can find something where you can measure the outcome, you can predict, you can do you can budget it, you can immediately do the math and go, cool, this will work for us, this won't work for us, and it's small. Right. So you're likely to see a beginning, a middle, and an end right in the first meeting. And great. That's how we're going to make these. That's how we're going to get these technologies adopted. Quantum computing, same thing.
Yeah.
Right. Like how we're going to be successful. And these are the things boards need to start asking. Right. Boards need to start asking, like how are you successful? What lessons did you learn, and how will you apply those lessons in the future? Right. They really need to start digging in on these technology people and start letting go of these technology people that are just albatrosses to your organization.
It's funny when I sort of do presentations to either groups or to individual CIOs, I usually start with the first slide that said, in January, what my feeling of Gen AI or AI was, it's going to do good things, but there's a lot of risk on the table, and that should make you think. And the end of the deck is the last slide to say, what do I think of it right now? And my answer is the risks are the same, and in fact, they're more because we see more, but I'm much more positive about the effects it's going to have both on your business and your personal life going forward. So the risks have got a little bit riskier, but I'm much more optimistic about sort of the future use of this technology.
Yeah. I would say that the more lemmings are jumping off more cliffs than they were in January. Right. At the same time, I'm also seeing more positive use cases. I'm seeing more lessons learned. I'm seeing more like people that have followed the right path and are now starting to bear fruit. And it's only been 6 months.
Right.
In 6 months, I can't think of another technology that did that to this level.
Right.
Right. So I think I'm starting to see the beginning of that kind of maturity piece while I'm also watching a ton of lemmings jump off cliffs.
Right. That's the perfect ending, Carlos.
I love the conversation. I'm trying to get the details, but I think that what is special is that each one of you that are listening, take the time to see, did you started any project like Howard and Paul mentioned? Have you got any lessons learned? Like right now, doesn't matter if you finish or not. And now is the moment that you can decide, do I keep pouring so I can go over the cliff, or do I stop before I get to the cliff so I can readjust and then learn from the lessons learned from the past? My friends, it's awesome to see you. Make sure that you share, you subscribe, and we'll see you in our next episode.